I'm a woman. I can't do this. Oh, they won't like me. I'm ugly. Look, I have a pimple. Look at my wrinkles. I'm stuck. I don't deserve it. I should stay home so no one sees me. I can't get dressed. I can't decide what to wear. No, I'm not worthy. I don't deserve this. I can't get dressed. Can't decide what to wear. No, I'm going back to bed. I can't. I am not worthy. You aren't gorgeous. I'm a magnet to good things. You are successful. You can do this. You deserve this. You're a leader. You're worthy. You are kind and generous. I am abundant to all that I do. I can change anything, and I can do this. With Empowered in Heels.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Empowered in Heels. I'm Suzy Tamasy, your TV host here at TV Chaar. I'm so delighted to have an amazing guest. It's a manpower guest. And, I would have to say he's our first man featured in our show, Empowered in Heels. So I kind of had to give him a heads up. He goes, it is a women's show, but you know what? What he does is so impactful. So I will tell you a little bit about myself and bring him on. He's an amazing person, and I'm so delighted to have him on Empowered in Heels. So I'm Suzy Tamasy, your TV host. I am an entrepreneur. I've been an entrepreneur for almost 15 years. I do have a clothing line called Suzy Q Jewels, in which we donate to women's shelters across Ontario. We do a lot of fashion show events, and we also have 2 magazines, one called Empowered in Heels, in which is about women inspiring stories and true stories about them and how they find the tunnel of light. So it's like an inspirational tool for women in shelters so that they can kind of read something while they're there to encourage them to the next level. Also, our other magazine is called Biz and Fashion, which is truly my passion right now. It intertwines business-related entrepreneurship topics and intertwined with fashion. So what better is to bring a serious topic to something fun? And my guest is an amazing guest, Brad. Or Brad Walsh. We know him by Brad Walsh. And he actually is an entrepreneur. He's been in entrepreneurship for, I would say, 8 years, but full-time 3 to 4. He'll tell you more about that. And he also is a photographer. And he has this beautiful podcast, which really impacted me to contact him. And it's called Empowerography, I think it is. Podcast. Yeah. I hope I said that right, Brad. But welcome, Brad Walsh, to Empowered in Heels. And being our manpower today, what a great show we're going to have today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Suzy, for having me. I'm truly honored to be here, and to be the first male guest is, wow, I am honestly honored. So thank you so much for having me. I appreciate you giving me this platform to share a bit about what I do and my story.
Well, this is what we're all about, is to help each other. And when I kind of by fluke found your podcast, and I saw the women that you were relating to and your summit that's coming up, and that's why I wanted to bring you on the show, is to talk about your summit also, so that women can actually get on board and listen to inspiring women. So tell us a bit about your journey and about yourself itself.
Sure. So my journey starts, as you mentioned, I'm a photographer. I'm a boudoir photographer, so I'm already well entrenched and involved in women's empowerment through the photography. Photography has been a huge part of my life since I was a kid. I took photography in high school, developing my own film in the darkroom in school, and my love for photography has always been there. It's a huge part of my life. I've had my business for 10 years total, 7 years part-time and 3 years full. And while I was building my business, actually, let me backtrack a minute there. It's funny that I'm the type of photography I'm involved in now, boudoir photography. I never wanted to photograph people. People was the last thing on earth I wanted to photograph. I was more into architecture and landscapes and things like that. I had no interest in photographing people. So as I said, I've had my business for 10 years, 7 years part-time, 3 years full. And while I was building my business part-time, I was working as an audiovisual technician at an accounting firm. And I would say about 3 years into my career there, because I was there for 12 and a half years in total, I was tasked with, or voluntold, that I would be doing the headshots for the corporate staff. And actually, that is where I truly fell in love with photographing people. I loved having that one-on-one time to connect with each individual as they sat for their portrait and so I could hear a bit about their story and what they do. I loved connecting with them. And so there began my love affair with photographing people. I would say about 3 years after that, I was introduced through a mutual friend to a boudoir photographer who was based in Florida. And I ended up mentoring with her for 6 months. And through that mentorship, I realized that is the focus. That's what I want to do for my business. That's where I want to take my business full time when I do make the jump to entrepreneurship. I love the fact of being able to give back and help empower women and help women feel confident in who they are, and the opportunity to show women themselves in a light that they don't normally get to see themselves in. So it was like a lightning bolt or light bulb moment for me once I finished my mentorship with this photographer. It was just incredible that I knew that that's where I have to go with the business. I have 2 daughters, and they are a huge part of my why. And a big part of the reason for that being they were both bullied as kids. My youngest was bullied by both boys and girls, verbally and physically. And my oldest was bullied by girls verbally. And for me, of course, as a parent and as a father, to see your kids go through that was absolutely horrible and heartbreaking to see them go through that. But I think what was even worse is to see the effects that had on them carry through with them in the different stages of their lives, from elementary school to the preteen years and then the teenage years, and now, of course, the young adult years. I still see the effects in my girls, and it's horrible. And taking a step back and pulling myself out of that situation with my girls, but looking at this whole thing on a grander scale, the women and girls that go through this on a daily basis, hundreds of thousands of them go through and deal with this on a daily basis and have to carry that with them into their adult years as women, is absolutely horrible. That it affects how they view themselves and how they see themselves, that they don't have confidence or that they don't love their bodies. So for me, with boudoir photography, if I can help tweak that mindset or shift that mindset even just a little bit, where my clients start to love themselves a bit more, start to feel good about who they are, and feel confident and love their bodies a bit more, that to me is everything. That's why I do what I do with the boudoir photography. I mean, I've had women come into viewing sessions and tell me that they cannot believe that that's them in the photographs. And honestly, Suzy, there is no bigger or better compliment I could ever be paid. It's the most incredible feeling to know that I've evoked that kind of emotion in another human being. It's just unbelievable. I love that I can do that and give back, show women themselves in a light that they don't normally get to see themselves in. and tweak that mindset a little bit to where they feel a little bit more confident in their abilities and who they are and love their bodies a bit more. That's what it's about for me. And so
I truly love that. And I think that's what really impacted me to contact you, to get the mental side of everything and why you do what you do. So, sorry, did I cut you off on something?
No, I was just gonna transition into the podcast, unless you want to.
Actually, let's get into that in a little bit, because I want to share to everyone, and then you can also share where they can find the summit that you're doing. So with that, have you noticed, I guess that was your pushing point, right? Things that you saw with your daughter, and you want to make
that was definitely
with other women, right? And I understand what you're saying, because I did a boudoir shot maybe 4 years ago, and it was something that really impacted me. I always thought it was a taboo, and I never shared it with my mom because she would have criticized it at all, right? But for me, when I look at that shot, it was like, wow, that's me. Like, you know, women are so judgmental to themselves, and sometimes our self-talk really hurts us. And imagine the teens that are out there today with social media. It's even more impactful for them. And when they grow up to be mothers, that still stays with them until they break that pattern. So I love what you're doing. And
Thank you.
Honestly, love what you're doing. And especially when we find out about your podcast.
Yes.
So can you tell me if there has been any related downfalls where you became what you are today?
Any related downfalls? No, you know, it's the struggle of entrepreneurship, as you know. I mean, that's tough in itself. It's a lot to deal with. It's a struggle. I mean, I think with entrepreneurship, we only see or talk about the good side of things. We don't talk enough about the downsides of entrepreneurship and the struggles. And I mean, as solopreneurs, we're alone a lot of the time. So there's that struggle of dealing with the thoughts in your head. I think the self-limiting beliefs, I dealt with that a lot in the first year and a half of my business. That was a huge struggle for me with the photography, is I was constantly comparing myself to other photographers and struggling with that. And it actually, I believe, limited or impacted my business because I was thinking negatively about it, and I was always not happy with where I was in my business. I didn't think I was where I should be for that amount of time I put into the business, and it truly impacted my business. When I shifted my mindset, though, and thought, you know what, the only competition I have is me. That's it. I should be my only competition. As long as I can look back at my work and say that I'm improving, that's my only competition. And once I shifted and learned that mindset shift, my whole world changed. Things opened up. I started to get more inquiries. I started to book more shoots. It's all up here. It's all mental. But those self-limiting beliefs are very, very real and a very tough thing to deal with. So I should say that was probably the biggest downfall. But arriving at that mindset shift and change has changed everything for me. It's a complete game changer, 100%.
It's so true. It's that vibration. And you have that higher vibration about yourself, and that you can, you know, you're happy, or you push yourself, because we're not perfect. I'm not saying that we're all perfect. But if you see your work and you're happy with it, it just calls this magnitude of other energies, and money comes in, or clients.
That's right. Yeah.
Or opportunities come knocking at your door because you're that positive aspect, right?
It truly does.
So has COVID affected your business at all?
Yes, COVID has been a huge thorn in my side with the business. Obviously, during a pandemic, I can't be booking any shoots, so it's been tough. I mean, I do headshots as well as boudoir photography. Boudoir is my focus, but I also do headshots and product photography. So yeah, it's impacted my business huge, but there's not a lot I can do. That's the way it goes. That's the state of the world right now. There's nothing we can do about it. You just got to roll with it, pivot, figure out what else you can do, and shift and make those changes.
So is that where your podcast came into life?
Yes, the podcast was actually born out of COVID. So, I mean, I think a lot of people get stuck on the negativity of what's going on in the world, and that's understandable. There's been a lot of bad that has come out of COVID. It's been struggles for lots of people. Lots of people have lost their businesses. Lots of people have lost loved ones. I lost my grandmother to COVID, so I know the struggle is real. It's hard, but you have to look for the silver lining in all of it, because if you don't, you're going to end up down a very dark and deep rabbit hole. So yeah, COVID's done a lot of bad, but there has been a lot of good that's come out of it. And I have to say that the Empowerography podcast is one of those great things that has come out of it. It's been absolutely amazing. I love that I'm able to do this.
I love it. Because I would love to know more. Tell us more about your podcast and how you use that as an empowering tool to women.
Sure. Well, like I said, it was born out of the pandemic. I was sitting around and, Suzy, I heard so many people complaining and whining about the fact that they're stuck at home and they don't know what to do and they're bored and this isn't fair. Yeah, it's all of that. But sitting around complaining and bitching about it is not going to fix the problem. So why don't you, I just thought for myself, I'm going to actually take this situation and flip it on its ear and use this time that every single one of us human beings here on earth have been given right now and do something good with it, do something positive. So I thought, I'm going to start up this podcast. I want to differentiate my podcast, though, for everyone else, is where I focus solely on women from the entrepreneurial space, women in the corporate world, women that have a story that they want to tell. And so because I come from that corporate background, I saw how women were treated in that world, the fact that women don't get equal pay for doing the same jobs as their male counterparts. There aren't enough women in C-suite level positions. And this is the year 2021, and we're still stuck in that old boys club mentality of the 1940s. I think it's ridiculous. So part of my thought was, if this podcast can be a spoke in that wheel of change to get rid of that attitude or to shift the thinking on that old boys club mentality, that's what I want for this thing. And of course, my daughters are a huge inspiration for the podcast. My wife is a huge inspiration. All of the women in my life, my mom, my grandmother, these women are instrumental in being the inspiration behind the podcast. So I set a goal for myself in April of last year that I would create 52 interviews, because at that time I figured, well, we're in the pandemic. I figured, this should be done in about 3 or 4 months, then I can get back to business as usual. Well, we know that didn't happen because we're still stuck in this pandemic state. So I started reaching out to women on Instagram, explaining a bit about the platform and what I wanted to do with it, what my goal was. And let me tell you, Suzy, the reaction and the response was so incredibly overwhelming. My heart was full of gratitude and love and happiness for all of these incredible women who wanted to be part of the podcast. And we're so happy to hear that a man has created this platform to help amplify women's voices, to elevate women, and to share their stories and get the word out there about what they're doing. It was just so incredible to me that they wanted to be part of this and share their stories. And I honestly, when I sit down and do my interviews with these women, I pull inspiration from every single one of these women's stories, because they're all so incredibly different, but there's inspiration in every one of them. The struggles that they've been through, the adversity that they've overcome, the roads they've walked, the journeys they've been on. It is just so incredible to hear the stories and be able to share them. And I want to blow this movement up to where we have 100,000 women involved in the community. And that's exactly what this is for me now. The podcast is no longer even mine. The podcast belongs to everybody, to the community, to the women who are such an integral part of this podcast. They own this podcast as well, because without the amazing women like you and women who are making a difference in the world with their missions and what they're doing, without them, without you, the podcast doesn't exist. So this podcast is just as much yours as it is mine. And I love being able to provide this platform to share the stories and share the inspirational journeys. The whole point of the podcast is to, if we have 100,000 women involved in this community that I would like to have, I don't care about the aesthetics in terms of the numbers to say, look at us, we have 100,000 followers on social media. I don't care about that. What I care about is that if we have 100,000 women involved in this community, that's 100,000 women that together we as a community can help reach and inspire together. I'm sure there are tons of women out there who are working in a 9-to-5 and hate it and want to make the jump to entrepreneurship, but maybe they don't know how, or maybe they don't feel confident enough to do it. And through listening to all of these incredibly inspiring women's stories, they find that confidence, or they find the know-how to do it, or they just say, you know what, if this woman can do it, why can't I do it? I can do this too. That's what I want for this thing. And I mean, when I did the podcast, when I started the podcast up, I had a thought in the back of my head that, don't be surprised if you hear from women saying, well, what do you know about empowering women? You're a man. You have no idea what it's like to be a woman. You don't know the journey we've been on. You don't know the roads we've walked. And no, of course I don't. I'm not a woman. I'm a man. But I can tell you this, I do have an idea because I've helped raise 2 daughters with my wife. And when I was a kid, my mother left my biological father. He was running around on her having an affair. And back in those days, the women stayed home to raise and look after the kids while the husband went out to work to make the money to support the family. So my mom hadn't worked in over 10 years because she stayed home to raise my brother and I. And looking back on the situation now as an adult male, the incredible strength and courage my mom had to actually just pick her boys up and leave back then, it's just mind-blowing to me. I mean, she had worked in over 10 years. She had to reintegrate back into the working world. She had to get a job. She had no choice because she had to support her boys. So she just took my brother and I, and we left. We left with just the clothes on our back. We didn't take anything with us. We moved into a 1-bedroom apartment. My mom slept on a couch. My brother and I slept in bunk beds in a 1-bedroom apartment. And my mom went out to work again. And when she was at work, my grandmother would step in and help out, look after us and help raise us. So for me, these 2 women have been absolutely instrumental in making me the man I am today. I have them to thank. They are a huge part of the reason as well. So these 2 women being constant pillars of strength in my life, showing me what it is to respect women and the courage and the strength that women have, and just the incredible abilities that women have to just get shit done. They just do what they have to do, and that's it. So these 2 women with my wife and my 2 daughters, these 5 women are completely instrumental in who I am today. What they have brought to my life is just the most amazing thing. So for me to have the podcast and the photography business to give back and help amplify women's voices and elevate women to where they should be, because they've been down here because of men for so long, these 5 women are the reason that I do what I do. They are everything. They are all of it behind the reasoning for the things I do with the podcast and the photography business.
I think we need more men like you, honestly. And I think a big thing is to have a male have a daughter and put themselves in those shoes and see how, confidence, how they're treated in school, being bullied, going through the phases. And when you get that job and how you're treated, it's so different to when a man is in that role. Absolutely. And how they're treated. Like, they get their regular raises. Women have to go in and ask for their raises. Yeah. If you don't ask or have that confidence to ask for your raise, they will not give it to you. They'll wait for 3 years and then maybe they'll decide to give you 50 cents more. Absolutely. But these are things that I love and had wanted to have you on the show because it relates to how impactful men can help women build them up and make an impact and bring the voice to the voiceless. And with your podcast, that you have amazing women examples in there. So tell us about your summit. I'd like to share the audience your summit that you have. So,
I mean, the goal for me for this whole platform, the ultimate goal is to turn this into a women's empowerment conference that travels around the world and shares the messages of all these women. But obviously right now we can't be doing in-person conferences, so we decided that we would put on an online conference to start things out and to help build the momentum of the movement and help build the community and help build the audience, the following. So we decided to put on an online conference. We're doing it on Monday, March 8th, International Women's Day. The event is an all-day event. It's going from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern. We have 24 speakers lined up, incredibly inspirational women from all different walks of life, all different areas of entrepreneurship. We've got them on 5 panels, 5 different topics of discussion. We have amazing sponsors on board who have generously donated gifts for giveaways and contests that we're doing leading up to the conference. And for the last hour of the conference, from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m., we are having what we called, or what we deemed as, a virtual happy hour. We're going to have breakout rooms set up on Zoom where women can go into the breakout rooms and network with each other and speak to each other and meet each other and connect and all of that amazing stuff. Tickets are only $20 Canadian, so it's a drop in about $20. Here you go, no problem. $15 or $16 US. The link is https /Empowerography podcast.square.site. I'll give you the link and you can post it.
Yeah.
And it's going to be an absolutely epic day. It's going to be amazing. A day filled with inspiration, incredible motivation. The women involved are absolutely incredible in their own rights. It's just going to be an amazing day. I can't wait. I'm so excited.
I have to get my ticket, and I've shared it. Actually, it's in Business Fashion.
Awesome.
To help you
thank you.
advertise as much as I can.
Well, you're also a sponsor for the conference as well, so thank you for that too. I appreciate that.
Oh, that's amazing. You know what? Anything to empower women today is key to what I do in life. So, loving that. And can you give me like a statement that women should think, or just seeing your daughter? Give me, when you're a wife, which is so empowering. Give me one statement for women to think today that they can do or have.
Well,
empowered.
I mean, I'll use the example that my wife and I instilled in our daughters from a very young age, is that you can do anything you want. Like you and I have talked about this previously. I think it's integral that we instill into our children from a very young age that you can do, and especially with women, because women have a harder time out in the working world and in the corporate world specifically. You can do anything you want in life. Don't ever let anybody tell you that you can't, because you can. And again, we've instilled these values in our kids from a young age, that do not ever depend on a man, especially. Don't depend on men for anything. When it all comes down to it, you only have yourself. Depend on yourself. Put your mind to what you want to do. Dream huge, and you can reach it. You can do it. Just put in the work and believe in yourself.
And I love that, because this is coming from a male side, empowering women with having a daughter. It really magnitudes the message even more.
Yeah.
Yourself in her shoes and what the difference is. And if you saw it as a father, it's out there, right?
For sure. I saw it with both my girls. I mean, confidence in kids is a huge thing. Dealing with all the crap on social media and being fed different things and these unrealistic standards of beauty and all of that's out there, you have to keep reiterating with your kids that don't pay attention to that. That's just the highlight reels, and that is an unrealistic sense of beauty and realism. Just believe in yourself, keep pushing forward, and do what you want to do. Set your mind to it, and you can attain those goals 100%.
Love it. So with that, do you have any daily rituals that you do in your life that keeps you going with?
Yeah, I have 2 dogs, so I like to get out 3 or 4 times a day with my dogs, just to get out into the fresh air. And I mean, when I'm working at home and I'm working on something and I get stuck or I'm not feeling motivated enough, I just take the dogs, go out for a walk, get some fresh air, clear my head, and get back home and get back to it. So yeah, I like to get out and walk. I think it's important. Not only is it exercise, but it helps clear your head. You get fresh air. It's good.
And I think that's a really important message today with COVID and being stuck at home and working with at home, and you working at home too. You need to take that minute break. You can go for a walk, like Brad said. Just get that fresh air out and then come back to a fresh start.
That's right.
So with anything of that, what is one fun thing you do? Is there anything fun?
Photography. I like to just take my camera and go. I like to just walk around downtown and just shoot for me, just for personal reasons, just things that catch my eye. I love taking my camera and just walking around downtown, just going and shooting. That's my
podcast, the name and everything.
Yeah, right.
So where did you come up with the name of Empowerography?
I figured that it would be good to tie in the empowerment, of course, because that's the whole basis of the podcast, but also tie in the photography, because it's such a huge part of my life and a huge part of my business. I figured, why not marry the two? And I came up with the name. People seem to like it. It's some people have trouble saying it, but I think it's memorable and I love the name. It just ties in both of my passions. So
I love
that's where it was born from.
Yeah, it really called my attention. And
Thank you.
that's why I had to contact you to see if you'd be part of Empowering Heals. So I'm loving everything that you are mentioning on here. And it's such an honor, honestly, to have the Manpower give out an empowering statement to women and get on board with the summit. Like, you're at home anyways, and it's International Women's Day, which is Women's Day. I don't even look at it as international anymore. I look at it as Women's Day because everyone's a woman, right?
You're right.
It doesn't matter if they're international or, what nationality. We are women, and honor it. And it's so empowering that you're doing it that day.
Thank you.
Was this in your books before? No, right?
No.
Were you thinking you were going to do this? No.
No, the idea for the conference or the summit was born probably the end of last year. No, it was never really on my radar. And just through conversations with women, and I just thought, you know what, I want to do more. Let's do something that will have more of an impact. And the goal came in. Like I said, I want to eventually turn this into an in-person. I see in my head the vision women up on a stage speaking, and I have breakout rooms with other women that are part of the conference as speakers, offering their services in these breakout rooms to the attendees. And that's where I want to take it. So I figured, let's start small and build the following. We'll start with an online conference, and we'll probably do that. We've already started talking about next year's conference. So we're going to probably do this for the next couple of years. I'm also looking at and have been thinking about adding some more things to that in terms of doing retreats quarterly every year. To help build the following and build the momentum of the community and the following. So these are all things I'm working on. Lots of ideas up here to keep furthering the mission.
Well, I love it. And getting the photography in place there, like maybe doing a glam it up or, our women, well, when sometimes we're so critical on ourselves. So this would push it to the next level.
Absolutely.
So I am so delighted to have you on our show. Honestly, it's been a fabulous time. So with your speakers, have you picked and choose who are your speakers? How did it come across?
Yeah, we did. We hand selected women. All the women who are speaking at the conference have been guests on the podcast. So I've pulled from that because now with the podcast, I have such a huge pool of resources with all the women that have been part of the movement and are part of the community. I figured, why not start there? These women are incredible. I know their stories, so they are perfect candidates to speak and elevate other women and amplify and inspire other women. So I just pulled from my pool of resources of women who have been on the show.
That's great. And then, so they can get your tickets online, and I will share that for sure. And please check out Biz and Fashion. There is a promo on there as to where the link is. I will set it in our talk today. And give me one message why they should go today.
Because it's going to be an incredible day of inspiration. These women all have walked their journeys and their paths, and they have so much wisdom and inspiration to share with the audience. I think it's going to be an incredibly epic day filled with inspiration and amazing stories. These women are all amazing storytellers. You have to go. You have to hear their stories. You have to hear them speak. They have so much wisdom to impart. So I think that's it. It'll be a day filled with inspiration. You can't for $20. You can't go wrong.
Yeah, for $20, you can empower yourself and listen to someone else's example of their life and get those tools. Because right now, I think COVID has allowed us to gain knowledge for ourselves and build ourselves, because we kind of lost that family core.
Yes. Yeah.
And finding our true self as to what life is all about. We were all materialistic, work.
Yes.
And then COVID has taken 2 years of our lives to really focus as to what is important for you. And this is something that you should look for yourself to empower. Read something, gain knowledge, push yourself out of that box of routine. Every day, challenge yourself to do something more. So today, I challenge you to go on to You say it again, please, for me.
Empowerography.
Empowerography.
There you go. You got
Get
it.
your ticket, because I will see you there, and hopefully we'll meet in the breakout room. So please empower yourself. So I am so delighted, Brad. It's truly an honor to be connected with you. You could see the passion in you and your drive as to what you really want to give out in the message, and the authenticity, which is hard to find in men, because men are portrayed to be tough. And I was even scared to do this interview. I go, oh gosh, okay. First of all, our first one didn't go because of our sound. And then I'm here, okay, maybe, let's see. But everything worked out, and I am so delighted. Honestly, you are an amazing person, and I could see that photography eye in you, and how you approach your photography. I could just see it by the way you speak. So please, everyone, check it out. I want to see you at the summit. You can speak to Bradley too. Is there a group that they can look for online or anything of that sort?
Well, the Empowerography podcast page on Instagram is just Empowerography Podcast. I have a private Facebook group on Facebook for the podcast as well. Lots of incredible, inspiring women in that group. It's called the Empowerography Podcast Lounge, so you can look for that as well. And Suzy, I just want to say thank you to you so very much. I am truly honored to be the first male on your show. The honor is beyond. And I just want to say thank you for everything that you're doing to help empower women with your fashion business, with the magazine. I think it's absolutely incredible. You are a true inspiration, and I'm honored to be part of this movement that you're creating.
I'm so honored. When I told TV Chaar I'm going to have a male on my, last week I was there, and I go, I'm going to have a male on my show. And they go, that's a great idea. They always go with my ideas. And I go, well, if you hear him, you're going to say, yeah, he's so appropriate. He's a manpower for sure. So thank you so much, Brad. So please look for Brad Walsh. Please look for the conference. It's something that you can do for yourself, women out there. And this show is for you, to push you to the next level as a woman. So if you'd like to be a guest on our show on Empowered in Heels, please contact me, Suzy Tamasy, either by email or through TV Chaar or Facebook. Please contact me. We would like to cover all women topics. Anything that you want us to cover, please contact us. That's why we're here. We're here for you. Thank you, Brad, for being on our show, empowering us and males, because a lot of males have daughters. So imagine if they only thought like you, or if they really start to notice what women really go through. It's a different thing, and we need to change this. We're in 2020, right? And we're going into 2021, 2022. Come on, we got to move this.
That's right. We don't
want daughters to think in the old-fashioned years that they are not equivalent to get the same salary as a male, right?
Yes.
So
for sure.
Thank you so much, everyone. Stay blessed, and still, please follow us every week on Empowered in Heels on TV Chaar, which is our amazing media production house. Thank you, TV Chaar, for having Empowered in Heels and having me as your host, Suzy Tamasy. Have a great day, everyone.